The Urban Come Up podcast is sponsored by LA Digital Recording, where you can have your podcast professionally edited and distributed to your fan base. Visit ladigitalrecording.com/podcast editing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Urban Come Up podcast. So excited to be with you today and so thrilled to have the Digital Podcast Network health and beauty expert, the beautiful, the one and only Kalilah Harris. How you doing, Kalilah?
Hey, Janora. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Glad to hear it.
So we got Kalilah back in the house today, back in the studio, keeping us healthy, because being healthy is truly part of being successful.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. And with being healthy, part of that is taking note of what we put into our bodies. Sometimes we pay attention to it. Sometimes we purposely do not pay attention to it. We just let our tongues and taste buds pay attention.
But that ignorance is bliss kind of
thing.
Oh,
yeah. That gets me all day. But I know that might not be for my greater good. So Kalilah is here to help me and all you listeners not necessarily put away our evil ways, but at least become more knowledgeable. Because then at least we can decide what we do with that information.
Yeah, totally. I believe in, freedom, and I have the kind of personality that very much so rebels when I'm told what I gotta do. And so I'm not here for that. I am here to tell you what are some good ideas and some suggestions you may or may not want to take.
All right. Well, definitely it's important to talk about what goes in our body, but we're not going to talk about food.
No.
That's the easy way out.
Of course.
Let's talk about water.
Water, H2O, one of the most miraculous molecules there is. It's really a do-all. I heard in a class once, I walked in, my chemistry professor was like, "What is the best cleaning agent in the world?" And I was like, bleach? I thought of everything except water, but the answer was water. And I was so taken aback. I was like, it seems like duh, of course. I just kind of, I guess, took it for granted, which I think a lot of people do. But water is a substance that you need for your sustenance. So it does all these miraculous things that, you really can't get anywhere else. And it is a cleaning agent for your body as well. It helps to keep your temperature regulated. It helps to regulate your blood pressure. It helps to cushion and lubricate your joints. It also lubricates your GI tract, which is very important because that can help prevent constipation. Nobody wants that.
Yes, or just all the stuff that lives in your gut that helps regulate your entire system.
Absolutely. There are contrasting opinions versus, some people say the brain controls everything. Some people say the GI tract controls everything. So it's like which is one and which is two. But, they're both very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's keep both clean. So then a question. All right. So if water is this important, how much water should we be drinking a day? Because I've heard different theories on this.
Yeah. So women are supposed to consume 11 cups daily. But the good news is you can get that from foods. So there's lots of foods that have high water content. And then, of course, the water you drink. And you don't have to just drink plain water, although that's the best way to get it, most pure form. But you can get, tea and lemonade and other drinks that are not heavily sugary. We want to avoid those too. So water usually comes from, you get probably about 4 to 5 cups from the foods you eat, if you are eating the right kinds of foods, of course. And so if you drink 8 cups then you should be in the safe zone. A lot of people are dehydrated and don't even know it. You lose water pretty much everything you do. When you breathe, you lose water, literally. When you urinate, obviously. When you defecate, then too. When you sweat, you're just losing it all day long. So you have to replace it to make sure your body is able to function and stay lubricated and be able to get rid of all those toxins.
All right. So now that we know we are drinking 8 cups and hoping that our diet is going to be the balance of the 3 to 4 cups, is there anything such as drinking too much water?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. People die from water poisoning from different random challenges, things that happen on the internet. But Yes, there is a such thing as too much water. Most people don't normally consume what would be considered too much, but if you hover around the 8 cups a day, you should be pretty safe. Of course, if it's hot or you're doing strenuous exercise or activities where you're losing a lot of fluids, then you'll drink more to replace, because you have to replace more. But in general, if you stick around 8 cups a day, you're pretty golden. Excessive consumption of anything is never good. So yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And then what do you say to the people who don't like the taste of water and they would prefer maybe sparkling water or water that's got a little flavoring to it? Is that the same? Is all water created equal?
You know, sparkling water is water, and it can count to make sure you don't go into a deficit. So you should have your sparkling water. If you want to do some fruited water, that's really good too. It doesn't change that it's water. It just gives it a little flavoring. And a lot of the fruits that you put into it have a lot of water content anyway, so it's like a bonus, like yay.
I only ask that because my sister swears out that she can only do sparkling water, only do flavored water, so I can stop giving her a hard time now based on you, Dr.
Let her
Harris.
Let her have her sparkling water.
Okay. Is there any bad water? Like, what if I threw Kool-Aid up in that list of ways to get water in your system? Is there any water that should be off limits?
Well, you'll certainly get the water, but you'll also get a lot of sugar, which is not good. Scientific studies have shown that whereas we originally thought high-fat diets were bad and that was what was causing all the cardiovascular disease and all the problems, that in fact it's the high-carb diets. So lots of sugar is processed and handled in the body in different ways, and it causes a lot of problems and a lot of inflammation, and these lead to chronic conditions and a lot of health problems. So I would say I would not drink Kool-Aid, and I like my friends, if they come over to my house or if they're hanging out with me, I don't want to give them anything I wouldn't consume. So I wouldn't serve you any Kool-Aid, but hey.
Even if I asked for it, Kalilah?
I'd be like, girl, you can have some sparkling water.
Okay, that's fair. Now, what will my body do if I am not consuming enough water? What are the signs that my body will have to say, hey, Janora, you should be drinking more water. That's why X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, you will have dry skin, dry mouth, dry hair, skin, and nails. I mean, that's prolonged dehydration. You could potentially feel dizzy and faint. You could feel kind of off balance. Your blood pressure could be affected negatively. Of course, you'll feel very thirsty because your body's trying to tell you that it needs something. So I would listen to that.
Would that be the sign? I'm thirsty, or is there anything?
I'm thirsty is definitely a sign. You're already headed towards dehydration territory when you're thirsty.
It's already past time.
It's already time, yeah.
Okay, well, I know I am thirsty for some more knowledge, and I hope you guys are too, so stick around. We're going to take this quick commercial break and come back with Kalilah, our beauty and health expert.
The Urban Come Up podcast is sponsored by LA Digital Recording, where you can have your podcast professionally edited and distributed to your fan base. Visit ladigitalrecording.com/podcast editing. You're listening to the Urban Come Up podcast. Each week on the Urban Come Up podcast, you'll hear how our guests were challenged and turned their challenges into success. And now, here's your host, Janora McDuffie.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are still here with our beauty and health expert, Kalilah Harris from the Digital Podcast Network. We were first talking about the role of water, and now I want to talk about the role of some of these labels on the food and beverages that we consume. So, tell me, should I be aware or should I feel like I'm doing something special and fancy if I get a low-fat something?
No.
I'm not doing anything. What about low sugar? Is that better?
Absolutely not. I always avoid no sugar, low sugar diet stuff because most of the time they use aspartame or other artificial sweeteners, which have been shown in lab studies to cause brain tumors in those animals. I just don't want to consume anything that's caused cancer, essentially, in another living creature.
Well, I totally agree. Neither do I. But why, in that case, are they so popular and they populate all of our shelves?
That's a great question. The early studies, of course, when nobody had had much exposure to it, showed, oh, it's fine. And so, it was pushed through and then it's been made widely available. And, of course, studies over time show that maybe not.
So even with the items that we consume, like milk or butter, you're telling me that I need to go full-fledged, the real deal, and not try to get the low sugar or the low fat because I feel like I am at least cutting out some calories or...
I think the full fat is fine because your body does need fat. But it's a matter of the level of consumption. Are you going to use healthy proportions or are you going to overdo it? If you're using healthy proportions, you can use the regular kind that's not been altered in any way. I think that's the way to go.
Okay, and then going back to beverages, if how I want to consume some water just happens to be in a diet beverage, what about that? Does the diet help?
I still say no to all diet. Definitely not. It's a strong no for me.
You are crushing some folks' dreams out there.
I know. I used to drink diet drinks too until I looked at the research.
All right. I'm going to try not to lose sleep over it. But that's actually my segue
Hey, that was a good one.
My next segment, which is about sleep. So we got water, we got some food labels that are fooling us, but not anymore. And now we're going to talk about the importance of sleep.
Yes, sleep. Oh, one of the other things that are completely free and that will help improve our lives and our life experiences. So sleep is, for most people, we need 8.5 hours of sleep. So here's a little trick I do. Maybe it can work for you. When I'm getting ready for bed, I set my alarm for 9 hours out so that I can have a little time to kind of stir in bed and do whatever I'm doing to wrap up and then go to sleep and make sure I'm asleep for at least 8.5 hours. I know that may not be possible for everybody, but that is the goal. But the good news about that, though, is that you don't have to get them all at once. Of course, you want to do as much of a block as you can, but as long as you're getting it within a 24-hour period, it still counts.
So you're saying I can get 5 hours of sleep at night, but then during the course of the day, take a early afternoon nap and a quick little cat nap.
It's additive.
And after dinner, before I go to sleep.
Before bed.
And that would count.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah. Sleep is remarkable. A lot of things happen during sleep that cannot happen physiologically during our wakefulness.
Okay. Give me some examples.
So we get those delta waves in our brain, which are the deep sleep waves. They help us to do away with the cortisol and other stress hormones that we produce while we're awake and moving around. Also, our brains don't naturally have a lymphatic drainage system. Lymphatic drainage basically takes the waste away from all the other parts of our body, but it's not in the brain. But the brain is so smart that while we're sleeping, and only when we're sleeping, the cerebrospinal fluid, which surrounds the brain and the spinal cord, it infiltrates our brains, goes into the matter, and basically washes it out. All the toxins and things that have been building up throughout the day are taken away and washed off by our cerebrospinal fluid. And that is a necessary function because a lot of protein buildup and other kinds of waste products ultimately, over time, without adequate rest or the getting rid of those deleterious effects, can cause cognitive decline.
Interesting. So
while we're sleeping, another thing that happens is our long-term memories are consolidated from the short-term memories that we've, gathered throughout the day. Whatever happened today, it kind of becomes part of our personality and our long-term memory when we sleep. If we don't sleep, our long-term memory doesn't happen. So, memory improvement, restoration, and DNA repair. Those things happen during sleep.
Wow. That is fascinating. I think I must not be getting enough sleep because I swear I can't remember nothing. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and I also hear that athletes who get more sleep have better performance.
Absolutely. There are so many studies and different reading materials on this topic. A lot of them are very aptly named. Like one is called How to Succeed, Get More Sleep. Lots of people are now, I think, becoming more aware of the importance of sleep. Back in the day, I won't even say back in the day, even current day, we as a society kind of wear the badge of not getting enough sleep as an honor. Like, I didn't get enough sleep last night, so I'm working hard or I'm doing something.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's really to our disadvantage as a culture. We would be a lot more productive and a lot more healthy and a lot more cognitively clear and probably emotionally clear and able to deal with people better if we got more sleep. Yes, the most successful people in the world get enough sleep.
Wow.
And that's 8.5 hours.
I have got to go take a nap then right this second so I can cumulatively make my 8 hours in this 24.
Yeah.
Wow. And in this quick segment, I have learned so much, and I hope you guys have too. Thank you, Kalilah. You know we're going to have you back to talk more beauty and health, because as a community, y'all, we got to be healthy.
Yeah.
If we're going to stay successful. So thank you again. And thank you all listening out there to the Urban Come Up Podcast. See you next time.
The Urban Come Up Podcast is sponsored by LA Digital Recording, where you can have your podcast professionally edited and distributed to your fan base. Visit ladigitalrecording.com/podcast editing.